Go for it.
I am PMI. Oh, I have to read the thing. Sorry, I've already messed that up.
That's okay. That's part of the gig. Well,
all
well
right.
done.
This is PMIO Lister from Collective Studio. You're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, reminding you to become the creative director of your life.
Ooh, nice. All right, let me hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Kevin Murphy, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going very well, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you doing this. It took a couple of tries to get it locked in, but we did it.
And here we are.
Calendar glitches out of the way. So you're at evolveartist.com. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited in your website and your business today.
Well, Evolve Artist it's actually the culmination of all of the successes and mistakes that I've made over 30 plus years of creating art professionally. I started out really not knowing anything about art. I didn't go to school for art. But I decided I wanted to be a book cover illustrator. I wanted to paint science fiction paintings for a living.
Yeah. All right. Wow.
And it was impossible to find a place to get a proper education, a straight road from knowing nothing to being able to be viable in the industry.
Okay.
And so I fought my way there, tooth and nail, just really clawed my way to a career. Got through that career, spent 7 years doing illustrations. Started out mostly book covers, but eventually I started doing more mainstream commercial work, like work for LucasArts and for National Geographic. I did work for R.J. Reynolds. I peddled cigarettes for Camel cigarettes for a little bit of time there until my conscience kicked in.
I gotcha.
And eventually I landed a cover with the Rolling Stones. So the band, not the magazine. I did a cover for their Bridges to Babylon CD.
Oh, neat.
And that was like my claim to fame. And at that point, when I could have basically done anything within my illustration career, I stepped away from it, took 2 years off, and I had burned myself out. And instead of being able to capitalize on it, I just slept long days.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's a good cure for burnout, sleeping.
Yeah. The industry was changing at the time. Digital art was kind of stepping in. And so it was a good time to leave. I got out of that. I got into doing portrait work, which I did up until just a couple of years ago. And so I did portrait work. I've got about 300 commissioned portraits.
Wow.
And during that time, I early on, I started a publishing company, did that for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And so lots of bouncing around.
Yeah.
Like I would, find something, jump into it, run into it, like just full steam ahead, figure out an industry I knew nothing about, and then moved on to something else. And so then about 15 years ago, I opened a school. I decided, I had always wanted to give back. I wanted to be able to offer the education that I couldn't find. And so that's what I built. I built a school and eventually built that out into an online resource. And now we even have brick and mortar. We have 23 brick and mortar schools.
Wow.
21 in the US and 2 overseas. And that's just keeps growing. And the idea is I couldn't find access to the kind of education I wanted, something straightforward that didn't require talent, but just if you're willing to do the work, you can have these skills.
Right.
I was told that it didn't exist and that there was no such thing, that you had to have a talent, you had to be gifted. And right. I look back at what I've built and there was no talent involved. I just worked really, really hard. I didn't shy away from the things I didn't want to do. I just dug in and found a way to make them work. And I built a career in the arts that has spanned 32 years. I've been at the top of almost every industry that I've been in as an illustrator, portrait painter, educator. And I've loved every minute of it. Like I can't imagine having taken a different path. I mean, some of the times were very hard. Like that's the nature of all work. But if I had to sit in an office and work for somebody else, I don't think I would have survived it.
I get it. I get it.
And so Evolve is my way of disseminating that information to the world.
Okay.
The program is studied in almost 80 countries, and we get professional level results pretty much everywhere the program lands.
So is it all online and then?
Yes.
Okay.
The Evolve program is entirely online. But what we've done is we've built a program that mimics the in-school experience. So we have live classes. So you get all the information through video, but we check every single assignment. They're very specific assignments to skill build. Right. Fundamentals.
You need the feedback is the key.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so feedback is a very big part of what we do. We say like our company, once all of the assets were built, our company has two jobs. One is to inform people that we exist so that they can sign up. And the other, because it's not a hard sell. If this is what you're looking for when you see it. And the other thing is to support the students on their journey. Those are the only two things we do. The assets, once they're built, they just take care of themselves.
That makes sense.
And so we spend most of our time and energy and resources on the support team. Live classes, open spaces that people can come and work side by side, even if they're not conversing, in a room where there are other people. Try to make it as much like the school experience as possible, so people don't feel alone at home while they're working. There's always an open room to go into, and there's usually someone in the room hanging out.
There you go.
And so you jump in, and it's like people get to know each other all around the world. We had like a group,
a safe space where you can say, "Look, I did this, and I'm working on this, whatever." Right?
Yeah.
How's it look? Right? You can get feedback even from peers. Yeah.
Yeah, and part of it is, you could be working on the third exercise in block 1, and there's somebody in the room who's on exercise 7. And they struggled with the thing you're struggling with and finally figured it out. And now they can be of help to you. And we have such a great community. We had at one point, it's not running anymore, but we had students, we encouraged them to set these rooms up. And so they're under our umbrella, but we had a group, they called themselves Midnight Tea. And it was a woman in New Jersey set up an 11 o'clock in the evening till 1 o'clock in the morning group on the East Coast. And so out in California, the group was a little bit earlier.
Sure.
And they had almost half the group was from Australia and Asia.
That works, though.
Because it was middle of the day there.
Yeah.
And so it was such a great blended group. There were about 35 people in the group.
Yeah.
And
when you get that many brains together, magic happens, especially when they're all working on similar things and helping each other.
Yeah. And they're building relationships. It's like you think about so somebody from New Jersey who was in that group for a year could possibly travel to Australia and already have baked-in friends there. Like it's just such a cool thing.
That is cool.
And it's all wrapped around, their interest in becoming sound artists. They're enriching their lives with something that they want. It's like, look, we're all creative. We're born that way.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, it's just kind of stamped out of us. Not intentionally, but what happens is, and actually Malcolm Gladwell talks about this in The Outliers, if you show a proclivity for something, the resources are given to you, right? So if you show that you're a good artist, meaning they think you're talented, but what it means is that when all your friends are outside playing baseball, you're at home drawing.
Right.
That's what talent is. It's just that you're doing the work, so your work is better. So you go into school and you appear to be a talented artist, you get greater resources for art creation than the kid who's not talented.
Right.
And so because you've got greater resources, it pushes you forward even more.
Sure.
And so now you look even more talented as you progress. And because of that, you get even greater resources.
That idea of quarterback face.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard that? It's if somebody hasn't heard it out there, it's like all quarterbacks are picked out by teachers and coaches when they're young. It's like, oh, you're going to be a quarterback because you got quarterback face. Now the teacher or coach isn't thinking that, right? But that's what they're doing, right? They're looking at, they're going, okay, that guy's a lineman, that guy's a receiver. That guy's
Mhm.
whatever, right? He's the quarterback. It's like you're getting an assignment, and that's going to become a huge part of your identity if you go that way. And
Yeah. Well, there's like you come across as a leader, then you can be a quarterback. Now we just have to
Right.
teach the skills.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of things. Like for anybody who hasn't read The Outlier by or Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it's an incredible book. It talks about
I have the book. I haven't read it yet. Isn't that hilarious?
it's a great read. He talks about hockey in Canada, and he said like I don't remember the percentage, but the number is staggering. 90-something% of all hockey players in Canada, professional hockey players, are born in like a 3-month window. And what it is that the way the hockey system works up there is that in a school year, if you're born in January, you'll be playing with somebody who's born in December. When you're 5 years old, the difference between being 5 years and 5 years and 11 months is a world of difference physically. Totally. And so the students that are born earlier in that devastate and push out the younger ones just because they're more developed.
Wow.
And so again, the resources are given to the ones born in January, February, and March.
Sure.
And the younger ones don't get the resources because they don't appear to be as talented. It's a very interesting book. And you can see it play out.
I was
in
born
a lot of
in
places.
June, so I'm screwed all the way around.
Well, just in hockey in Canada.
Not true. Not true. I'm in the middle all the time.
Yeah, but it depends on, like, at least in physical things. Obviously, when we're young, unless you are an outlier,
right,
you are going to be limited. You're not going to be as coordinated or as strong or as fast as somebody who is equal genetics that is 11 months older than you. And so you're going to be held back by that. And so you won't get the resources to make you better.
Sure.
You'll just be locked into that position. And it's interesting. It's a great book. It's a great
phenomena, right? What you're talking about there. I never really even considered that. That's fun. Now I
hadn't considered it until I read that book.
I want to go read that book.
Yeah. So it's a good read.
You've had a really fun, interesting vroom life. So
yes.
And you said like you had challenges in school, but I don't know if they were necessarily. Let's talk about, because you said things about your brothers and you.
Yeah.
So what was your like school experience like for you?
Yeah. So I have 3 brothers, and I grew up in a very tough neighborhood. I grew up in the Bronx in a very tough neighborhood, and my parents were adamant about. Well, my parents don't have degrees. They weren't educated.
Right.
And so degrees were necessary. Like education was everything. And so I have an older brother who's a PhD in computer science.
Okay.
He's the chair of a department at the university. He's the chair of the tenure committee for the university. He's the chair of the finance committee for the university.
Wow.
That's my older brother.
My goodness.
And I have 2 younger brothers, both with master's degrees. I have one brother who's a year younger than me, master's degree in business. And after 9/11, he dropped all of that and joined the military because he said, well, somebody's got to do this.
Wow.
And I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't really have any prospects. And I think this is something I need to go and do.
This is the PhD of everything?
No. This is a master's degree in business.
Okay, good.
No, and actually, my older brother with the PhD, he originally had planned on being an astronaut.
It's really hard.
Yes, and he's an incredible athlete also, with very, very hard growing up behind him.
There's
on top of being
about a guy who wanted to be an astronaut. And he ended up being an astronaut. But the movie, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like, I think Michael Pena was the star, and the astronaut was Hispanic, right?
Okay.
And it sort of describes just how amazing astronauts are. Right. You're not, you're really smart and whatever, you're genius level specialist.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a pilot, and you have to be an amazing athlete.
And you can have no injuries. People don't understand.
You can't be short. You can't have bad eyesight. You can't be a little sick. Right. No injuries. No. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The filter levels are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. But my older brother, like I said, I mean, he's a genius. He's absolutely brilliant. And he was an incredible athlete. as I think in his second year in high school, professional baseball teams were already scouting him.
Wow.
He was a
That's
first string.
Yeah.
He's a first string Division I pitcher as a freshman in college.
Yeesh.
Yeah. That's what I grew up behind. It was awful. Dumb and slow. That was me.
Wow.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I'm athletic.
Yeah.
I'm intelligent and I'm athletic, but I'm not that.
Right.
And so the reason that he didn't go into a career in baseball is he tore a ligament in his ankle. And so that was the end of several paths. Astronaut was off the table. Because an injury like that, G-forces that was the end of that as well. So he didn't go into the Air Force, which was originally his plan, to go into the Air Force, become a pilot, and move in the direction of being an astronaut. But
amazing.
So now he's
like most people have like what I don't even know what you'd call it, like an aspiration ceiling, right? I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I wanted to be an astronaut. So just to have an aspiration that, well, that's something I could do, never even entered my mind. So good for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's cut from a different cloth than most people.
Right.
And some of it is earned, but some of it isn't. You're born with a brain that functions at a certain level. Like IQ can't be fixed. Your IQ is what it is. And all it is the way your brain processes data.
Yeah.
He happens to have a very high one.
Like,
that's
flow.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's easy to educate.
Got it.
Random ideas. He can see how they fit into things. But anyway, so I've got a younger brother who's a master's in education. And so my parents encouraged all of us to do what we enjoyed, to be exceptional at it, and find a way to monetize it. And so that's what we've all done. We've all followed paths that were the right fit for us. But me, when I was in high school, I was a terrible student. I didn't like school. It wasn't like I was dumb and I couldn't do the work. I just didn't feel like doing it. And so I wrestled when I was in school.
Now,
you know what? As I look back on it, I think that I don't like losing. And I had an older brother that I couldn't beat.
Okay.
And though my parents didn't compare us, I compared us.
Right.
And there was no beating him.
Right.
I've just, I don't know for sure that's what it is.
I get that. I remember feeling similar feelings like that. I never was like super competitive as a kid. But I remember like thinking like, I don't want to play this game because it's really dumb. A lot. Right. Like it was hard for me to find games that I thought were fun, if that makes sense. Not necessarily like games that would lead to a job. Right. I didn't think about that much, Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, no problem. But so like for me, I found that I didn't like group sports.
Right.
I found wrestling. I really enjoy. I wrestled when I was in high school. I coached afterwards. I like the individual.
Effort. Right.
Yeah. I cannot be outworked. There's no amount of work that I won't do in the pursuit of something that I'm interested in. And so I didn't like putting in 100% effort into something and then having teammates put in 80% and lose because of it. Right. If I lost and I put in 100%, I could be proud of my efforts. The losing, though I didn't like it, was okay because I knew I had done everything I could to prevent that outcome. And so I wound up finding my way into things like art, where it's you and you alone. I wasn't an artist when I was young. I kind of fumbled my way into it. But wrestling was a big thing for me because it was individual. And so eventually I eked out, I got a 68 average in high school. I barely graduated. 65 was passing.
Wow.
68 average. Just.
And in your family, like they're all looking at you like black sheep vibes.
Yeah. They were like,
what are you doing?
It was all the concussions. Yeah. It was all the concussions that did it. I was meant to be like my older brother, but I have like 5 concussions. Yeah.
From wrestling or
from lots and lots of dumb things. Just,
okay.
Growing up,
there's science that describes what you have.
Yeah.
No, really. Like, did you like jump off of high heights or something, or yeah?
And yes, no, I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things I should not have been doing.
Right.
And my parents would say to me all the time, like, you are not indestructible. You think you are, but you're not.
Interesting though. Yeah.
I got into a lot of fights. I loved fighting because I didn't mind getting hit. I have a high pain threshold. I found out later in life.
Right.
These things that would deter other people, I didn't feel the pain the way they did. And so I wasn't afraid of jumping off of things, crashing into things. And over the years, I have 5 concussions, confirmed concussions. I don't know how many others, but
that's
but yeah, that will slow you down a bit. I hear.
And that was all before you graduated high school.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't be sad.
I don't know what my potential was, but I are an artist.
So I get it, because like when I look at people like you, or when I did look at people like you, and there's always like, there are people like you around, right? Like that, just for whatever reason, your wiring said you needed a 12 to feel anything. Right? Like,
yes.
Okay. Right. So I was like, I was very happy at like a 3 or a 4 volume. Right. Like I would rather go for a walk and have a chat than do something exciting.
I found that I didn't like my comfort zones. They were too quiet.
Right.
They were too quiet.
Right. For whatever reason, you liked life at a high volume. It's just your wiring.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because I do like quiet time. When I need quiet time, don't come near me. You need to, but
yeah, it's more like everybody has this unconscious feeling that I need to feel alive now. Right. And then like you had to go jump off of the top of a roof or something and then bounce off and go, yeah, that did it.
Well, we would do like when I was young. I mean, like I said, I grew up in the Bronx. We'd go into the train yards and do graffiti on the trains. And the cops would chase us out onto I lived on an elevated, like down the street from me was an elevated train. They're like 20 feet off the ground.
Oh my God.
And we would run out onto the tracks. And what they would do is they would call ahead to the next station. So police would get up on the next station and grab us. Right. Okay. So what we would do is we would run like halfway and then jump to the ground 20 feet below, land on the roof of a car, and it's like people broke ankles.
You're like a stunt man without any.
Not intentionally.
No
not
helmets,
intentionally.
no pads, no ropes.
Well, at 45 years old, I started doing parkour with my kids. Yeah. At 45, I had herniated a disc, and the doctor was like, "You really need to take it easy. No more powerlifting." I was like, "Okay, I'll do parkour. I'll be jumping off of 20-foot towers, and
Pretty soon you're going to be doing American Ninja Warrior."
Yeah, no. My body is destroyed. My body does not do what I want anymore. It just hurts all the time.
I get it.
I'm done abusing myself for the most part.
It doesn't take as much now,
No, all I have to do is get out of a chair too quickly.
I'll walk up some steps. That'll do it.
Yeah. No, it's really kind of sad. Like the list of injuries. I have a torn disc. I have a herniated disc. I have torn labrum in each hip. I've got like 25 fractured teeth. Like I box, I wrestle, I did martial arts. Like all of these things, just when you're young and you can get through that stuff, your body heals, but it doesn't really heal. It puts it off on the back burner until you get a little bit older. And then it all comes back. It's like, this 40,
is, you start feeling all of those choices. Really.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel broken. I feel like I just fell out of a tree and hit every branch on the way down. Like I feel like that every morning when I wake up. And, but it's like, what do? You get up and I'm used to it. I think if somebody stepped into my body, somebody who was healthy and didn't have pain, stepped into my body on an average day, they wouldn't be able to move. Yeah, they just curl into a fetal position, but I'm used to it. Right. This is the machine that I drive. This
is normal for Kevin Murphy.
Yeah, I had my first car was a manual transmission, and there was always an electrical problem, so I had to push it down a hill to kick it over every time.
Wow.
And so like that's my body now. Kind of the same thing, just playing out. But
I have to kick it down a hill to get it to go. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to the thing, like, so like I graduated high school and I had no prospects. So I got into construction. I was a union construction worker. I did that for
That
3.5 years.
That makes sense.
And yeah, no, I mean, I love the work. The work was great, but I didn't like the cold
and you're
winters.
a daredevil, so people ask you to do stupid shit.
Well,
yes,
like
please.
when you're doing union work, like everything is like they have OSHA. Everything is like very careful. Like the amount of injuries, the stuff that can happen on a construction site.
Still though.
So, but yeah, but I did that. And when I graduated high school, I could barely read. I was only reading about 6 pages an hour in a regular mass market book.
Okay.
I was borderline illiterate. And so over the 3.5 years that followed, I taught myself how to read. I took speed reading courses. And by the time I finished working construction, I'd read almost 1,000 books on everything you could possibly think of. But in that time, I fell in love with all the science fiction and fantasy stuff, and particularly the art on the covers.
Okay.
And I had an interest in art, even though I wasn't practicing. And I dabbled here and there a little. I do like 2 paintings and then not come back to it for 6 months. I like that. I wasn't a serious artist.
Right.
But one day I was going into work, bitter cold, like 6:30 in the morning. It was pitch black. All sane people were still asleep. And here I am walking from from the World Trade Center over to Battery Park. And it was just, I just decided I didn't want to do this anymore. It was just too much. And so I got into work. I packed up all my tools, gave them to one of the apprentices, basically burned the ships, and went home. And I decided I was going to be a book cover illustrator. I had no idea what that meant, like what the odds were, but I decided I was going to do it. Okay. And I was not going to go back to construction. And had I known what the odds were, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
I mean, I say that, I don't know. I kind of don't flinch away from that kind of stuff. But maybe at the time, if I was told that your odds of being successful are closer to 0 than they are to 1, I might have thought twice.
Sure.
But ignorance is bliss. And so I just went forward, and I was somehow able to build out a career in illustration. I started out with a single book cover. About 2 years after I got out of construction, I got my first job, and I spent the next 7 years just cranking out illustrations.
Is this like a job, like a W-2 kind of job, or is it more like
a 1099s?
1099s, yes. Okay.
I worked at home as freelance work.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, freelance work. And so I worked for all the major publishers, and eventually moved out into more more mainstream illustration. Like, so there's book covers and that's genre, but then you get out and you're doing things like religious greeting cards and, a cover for the Rolling Stones, and you do some licensing work for Lucas, and then you're packaging cigarettes, and that's all mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
And so video game packaging. And so I branched out and I got into a lot of different things. And I did that, like I said, for about 7, maybe 8 years before I finally got tired of that. And then I moved on I opened a publishing company. I did, we was 7 years before the distributors put us out of business. But we actually published about 150 titles, including the limited edition of Game of Thrones.
Oh, wow.
So I got to work on Game of Thrones with George R. R. Martin for about 7 years. It was a really cool experience.
Wow.
And yeah. And it was pretty good. And
so how did
not too many people get to say that they've worked with George.
No. And what did you do for LucasArts? Was that like a video game or?
It was mostly, I did a couple of things. One was some puzzles. I did some Star Wars puzzles.
Okay.
So basically I made paintings and they chopped them up into 500 pieces.
Yeah.
And then for Jurassic Park, I did packaging, like designs for the boxes of some of their toys. I think this was for their second movie. So kind of dates me. Second movie. This was back in the early 90s.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah. And the Bridges to Babylon CD, I think was 97.
Okay.
And that's about where I stepped out of the career. I started trailing off at that point. I finished up jobs that I had and stopped taking new ones. But that was good. They hung an 85-foot banner of my painting off the Brooklyn Bridge when they came to New York to announce the tour.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Coming from where I came from, that was like unimaginable.
At least you had something to point at to mom and dad.
Yeah, my mother asked me, like, what are they going to do with that banner when they're done? I was like, it's bigger than the building we live in. What do you like? What
Burn
do you
it,
want it?
Probably.
You know?
Burn it, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not
yeah,
something you can keep, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. But it was an interesting project, like working on that cover with the Rolling Stones. It was like I didn't deal with them directly. I worked through a designer.
Well, they're like multi-billion-dollar corporation, right?
Yes. Well, the designer that I worked with, he dealt with them directly.
Yeah.
But I didn't. He's a huge name. Stefan Sagmeister. He's just incredible, big name packager. Wow. But I mean, he's a brand unto himself. And so, but I got to work with him on that project. It was just wonderful. I mean, he was great to work with, and just, I mean, even if the entire process was walking through hell, I mean, I did a cover for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I don't need to say anything else. Like, it was, got to go to the concert, you know, had really great seats. And I mean, I mean, it's a great thing to have kind of in my resume.
As far as like artist goes, that you don't get much closer to astronaut than, you know.
No, not really. Not really. That's a big one. That's a big one.
That's huge.
Yeah. And actually it's interesting because the Rolling Stones cover came to me because the Aerosmith's 9 Lives CD fell through, because I was originally supposed to work on that. And they couldn't get a final approval. It was 9 paintings. They couldn't get a final approval on the project. It took forever. And so by the time it was approved, there wasn't enough time for me as a single painter to produce 9 paintings. So they wound up hiring 3 different artists to do 3 paintings each. And just as that thing went by, the Rolling Stones project came up. And so I got called. It just worked out.
It's interesting how life works out sometimes. I would much rather have, well, you know, Aerosmith's great too, but they're not the Rolling Stones.
Yes, they are.
They're not the Rolling Stones.
No, they're not. And had I done the 9 Lives, even if I was freed up, the Rolling Stones piece would not have come to me, because the Rolling Stones are not going to take an artist who just did something for someone else.
Right.
They're not going to they're not going to be the band that used the same artist as that other band.
Then you become
That's
like
not how the Rolling Stones. Yep. Not going to happen.
Isn't that weird?
And so I would have lost access to the Rolling Stones piece had I done the 9 Lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. I mean,
yeah. More evidence that we're all kind of stuck in high school a little bit. Even the Rolling Stones, and they're in their 70s or 80s. I don't even know how old they are. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so the publishing company, it sounded like it had like a kind of a fiery end. And then
I mean, basically,
yeah.
I mean, it's all kind of inside baseball. But what happened is we had a distribution company that was struggling, and so they weren't paying us. They were like a year behind or something like that. They weren't paying us, and we couldn't survive. We were a small company, and so we decided finally to move to a different company.
Okay.
And they were not happy about that. So instead of just moving the account over and basically getting paid out by the new distributor, they pulled 1 million books out of stores around the country, boxed them up and shipped them back to us. And which you don't normally do that. They just stay in the stores, and it's just some accounting stuff. By doing that, it stripped away all of the normal replenishment orders that Barnes and Noble and all of those stores would have. So, you know, in Barnes and Noble, if we had 3 copies of a book and someone bought one, it immediately replenished it.
Oh, okay.
Once they pulled those 3 books, that model was broken, and those books being old, they didn't buy them back. Plus, a good portion of the books in shipping from Barnes and Noble from all the stores back to us, and then being broken down in our warehouse and reboxed and shipped back out. The books are damaged. They're, you know, and so it just became a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so, and then with that, then the new distributor wasn't, you know, they had to come up to speed very quickly on what to do with our products without having very much coming in knowledge-wise from the other distributor. And so we were mismanaged a little bit. And again, I don't know that it was their fault. Very hard to come up to speed so quickly the way that they had to.
Yeah.
And so they dropped the ball in a few places, and it became a situation that our small publishing company couldn't survive.
Wow.
And so for me, I got what I would argue is the best education in business I could have gotten. I had to dismantle the publishing company, pay off existing bills and debts, and
try to sell
negotiate
stuff.
things,
Right.
sell off contracts, remainder products, breaking down the company. As awful as it was, I thought it was my future. I thought it was my retirement. I thought it was a lot of things. And I had two kids at home, one that was just a baby at the time. And I was having to dismantle this thing that was my income. It was everything at the time for the most part.
Ouch.
And to dismantle it and break it down. But I didn't just crawl into a fetal position and cry. I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible learning experience.
Right.
As awful as it was, I learned so much about how to run a business and what you can do.
It's like an act of creativity again, really, because you have to figure out, right, and learn how to, maximize whatever's left of this thing,
Absolutely. And and I had somebody a guy who was knowledgeable in this stuff kind of held my hand through it. Okay. He helped me get it done.
Right.
And so I got through it, and it laid the groundwork for me to then be able to go and open my first school. Oh, and so that's actually what happened. I closed this business down, looked around, and I was like, okay, now what's next?
Right.
And so I was doing portrait work, but I was like, I need other things. And so I decided to open up a school.
Wow.
And there's a lot of stuff kind of in there, but it's just, neither here nor there. But basically I went from that to opening up a school.
Right.
And then it was about a year and a half later. And that school started out very small in a warehouse. And eventually it expanded and then moved onto a main road and expanded again. And along the way, I was approached about bringing the program online.
Okay.
And it's funny because when I was interviewed, originally the guy who wanted to do the program with me, he had his own program and he was doing a podcast, and he got me on and we talked, and I said, this stuff can't be taught online. It's not possible. I didn't believe that it was.
Okay.
Because you need the human interaction.
Totally.
You need somebody to be able to say, you misunderstood this assignment. Let me walk you through it again.
Right.
Rather than misinterpreting and then doing 10 paintings with that same mistake and embedding it as a way of thinking, And so he after our interview, he came and paid me a visit, went through the program, and he was like, you know what, we could do this online. And it took him a while to figure out how, but he built the systems he's a systems guy. He built the systems that have enabled us to disseminate this information and train people globally.
Right.
And I could not have done it myself. I wouldn't have even known where to start.
Right.
I had the education, but I didn't have that. And he was able to build it.
It's huge. I mean, you didn't build the buildings that the school was in, right? So you shouldn't be expected
that's exactly, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Exactly the same.
You're going to need help. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And
he had to build the digital building that could be,
And he's been an incredible business partner. I didn't know him. When we were signing contracts to start this company, I didn't even know him, really. I'd spoken with him maybe a half a dozen times.
Wow.
But I had a good feeling. It seemed like he and I both aligned on a lot of things, our ideas. It was, for both of us, the money wasn't nearly as important as, in fact, it really wasn't even in the conversations. It was, how do we bring an incredible product to market that would enable people like us who are trying to become professionals or trying to develop these skills? How do we be able to bring this to market to empower them, to give them the ability to have what we've received from the art world ourselves? And the money will take care of itself. That was the thinking. Neither one of us were worried about the financial end of it. And so, because for me, like, I had my own school. I had two schools at the time, actually.
Right.
I didn't need the money from the online program.
Right.
So I wasn't thinking about that really. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, The Go-Giver. Are you familiar with
actually?
that? You have.
I don't know.
Wonderful
I don't
book.
know much about it. But I've heard of it. The Go-Giver.
Anybody, I would say anybody opening up a business should at the very least read the book. It's a very quick read. I think I don't know. It's maybe 160 pages, I think.
Right. Okay.
I don't even know. It's a pamphlet. Yeah. But it is a wonderful platform for building a meaningful business. And the thing is that generally, in general terms, what it says is, don't focus on the income. Focus on producing something that is of value to people
Right.
Find a way to allow the largest number of people to gain access to this thing that's going to improve their life, and give it to them at a cost that they feel like they're stealing from you.
Okay. All
If
right.
you do those things, you will be wealthy. You'll produce something of value. You'll contribute to the human experience. And by doing that, you'll enrich the lives of so many people, and they, by sheer numbers, will enrich you financially. Don't ever worry about the money. Do all the other things right. The money will take care of itself.
Yeah. And
it's a very good way to build a business.
That's a good philosophy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
most
I did that without
stories that you hear, like will say that, you know, it's like scratch your own itch kind of idea. It's like solve a problem that you had yourself, which you did.
Yes. My art program is the program I wish I had growing up.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. And then you know, okay, this is what I did. I know it works. All I have to do is figure out how to package it and then send it out.
And I didn't even do that. My business partner did. Yeah.
Even better.
And so, and so what, for me, my job has been to make sure that the education is constantly growing. So the company is called Evolve, Evolve Artist, but the name for me, it came from the idea that the program wasn't going to be static. My students, I have thousands and thousands of students online, have shown me how to grow my program, how to make it better, right? In the school, I can solve problems before I realize they're problems. But when somebody's doing work at home, I can watch 1,000 people in the program get jammed up in the same exercise. Now I'm like, okay, when it's one person, it's them. When it's 100 people getting jammed up in this one exercise, I didn't do my job.
That's right.
And so I've combed through the program. The program is currently in its 18th iteration.
Right. That's good.
Because it's constantly being evolved, developed, grown to create a frictionless learning environment where you literally just fall through the education. And if you just show up and do the work that's asked of you, you will become incredible. This stuff is not that hard. I mean, to boil down painting, even if in its most beautiful form, is you stand in front of a canvas with some knowledge and you push around colored mud with a hairy stick. And if you boil it down and you don't think of it like the finger of God coming down and touching you on the head and telling you you're going to be an artist, and you don't put pressure on yourself to do anything but deliver what you can deliver today, you could be an incredible artist and contribute to the history of this incredible vocation. I work in the same business as Michelangelo and Da Vinci.
Right.
And it's an incredible heritage. You get this thing handed down to you, and it's like, what do you do with it? Most of us these days can't find a way to learn the skills necessary to contribute anything of value. It's not that we don't want to, we would love to. And so the education that we offer through Evolve is the key that opens up that door.
It's almost like Evolve has become like I'm thinking of something like Android OS, right? Or iOS on the app. Yeah. It's never, you would never want a thing that, okay, it's done, right?
Yeah.
iOS is done and it's we're never going to change it again. That's called death.
Yeah. Well, eventually
has to evolve and iterate.
Yeah.
Right.
Eventually what happens is, even if you've produced something incredible, eventually the things around you grow.
Right.
The competition. And so if you're trying to help people with what you're doing, as you become more knowledgeable and you find easier ways to get something done, or a better way of going about something, or even a higher level of deliverable, if you don't stay on top of it and keep growing and evolving what you do, eventually you're not delivering the best product, the best opportunity.
Right.
And again, for me, this is a mission for me to make sure that I'm trying to find a way to open up the world of art to anybody who wants to learn, to be able to produce, not just make decent art, but to be incredible. And so anytime that I find a way to smooth out the road even a little bit, I go back and I rework the videos, and it's an enormous undertaking. But to me, like, This is why I'm here.
Right.
I have the ability
You're
to do
giving
this.
back. Right.
Yeah. And I have the ability to do it where so many others don't.
Right.
And in that, I feel responsible to do it.
Wow.
I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have the art career that I have if not for the fact that other people before me labored to figure things out. They didn't get comfortable. And so it's because of what they've done that they set a standard for me to then step into and try to match or improve upon.
Right.
And so, I said earlier, I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up very poor.
Okay.
And now I live in an affluent community. I live just north of Princeton. It's a beautiful area.
Sure.
And for me, it doesn't really matter, but I've been able to raise my 2 children in a world that I didn't even know existed when I was growing up.
Right.
And art did that for me.
Amazing.
The world of art that most people think is a starvation field made that possible. My children will never want for anything. They've grown up in with a level of privilege that is just mind-boggling to me from where I came from. There are safety nets in place for them, and all because of art. And so for me, it's important to me to basically give back to the art world what it's given me. It's been so generous and so kind. And it's not that I didn't have to work for this, but the opportunities were there. And so what I'm trying to do is build a platform that allows for anybody who wants to take that path to have a clear path to success. So that there is no starvation in their world, that they're able to take this and develop a skill.
Artist.
Yeah. Right. And look, it's not just about making money. I have one of my favorite students that I ever had in the school was a grandmother. She came in, she had rheumatoid arthritis, her hand, she could barely hold a pencil, but she wanted to be able to paint her grandkids. That's all she cared about. I want to learn how to paint so that I can paint my grandchildren. Wow. That's all she wanted to do. Right. What an incredible thing to do, to come in and commit the time and energy and focus, put the ego aside and let yourself be bad at something for a while you learn. So that you can do that for your grandchildren. Wow. That's better than anyone coming in wanting to have a career. Right. I think that's just the coolest thing. And there was nothing I wouldn't do for her. Right. Nothing I wouldn't do. Because, I mean,
yeah, I get it.
I think that's incredible.
Me too. I was going to ask you, we're getting close to wrapping up here, so everybody should check out evolveartist.com. And actually
we have
pad. There you go.
We have for the viewers of your show, it's evolveartist.com/vroom.
Okay.
If they go there, we have a special landing page there. There's some free assets. Anybody who's interested in seeing how art is created, there's a 9-minute video there, which shows all of the fundamentals that are required to be able to produce anything from a very basic painting all the way up to the Sistine Chapel.
Wow.
It's the very basic skills. The key is to have them shown to you in such a way that they make sense. And kind of going to that point, years ago, when I first opened my school, I was doing what everybody else was doing with their art education. And I realized that I wasn't actually teaching. Nobody was learning, as is the case with most art training. And so I came across this quote by Albert Einstein, where he said that if you can't explain it so that a 6-year-old understands it, you don't actually understand it yourself. And I started thinking if I was going to teach this to a 6-year-old, how would I teach it? How small would the units have to be for a 6-year-old to be able to digest an idea? And I have spent the greater part of 15 years breaking this down to the point where it can be digested without having to be chewed. That's what Evolve is.
I like that. Yeah. I totally I can resonate that idea of seeing a presentation of material that you're trying to take from a book or some other media and stick into your brain. There's a lot of chewing involved.
Well, I used to describe it. Imagine if I gave you a ball the size of a baseball of granite. And I told you that if you could eat this ball, all the knowledge that was contained in it, whatever it was, sure. Let's say just for art, to become like Michelangelo, all you had to do was consume that thing. The overwhelming majority of people would put their teeth on it and be like, I'm going to break my teeth on this thing. Right. I'm not doing it.
Right.
That wipes out 95% of all people.
Right.
Of the 5% that's left, there'll be people who try and break some teeth and kind of get little bits of it off. And and eventually surrender as well, or never think that maybe there's a better way of managing it. Somebody might smash it on the ground and break it into pieces and then try to choke them down.
Right.
What we've done with the education is we have ground this thing down into a powder so fine that you could sprinkle it on your food like salt and not even know it was there.
Yeah.
A frictionless education. That's what we've built to the degree that we could. And we're still smoothing out some edges.
Of course. Yeah. What you're building is any little thing like the best term that I've heard lately, I think, was on one of Tim Ferr's podcasts. He's like, you need your systems have to be scaffolding, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, or a rock climber, right? Like you used to work in construction, so you know what scaffolding is. It's like, you don't need to be told. You just need to know how to find where to go next, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is,
right?
You know, if you're, you know, when you want to learn something, the best way to learn it is by being around somebody who's doing it at the level you want to do it.
Right.
You know, this is one of the problems with art education or a lot of education. Like you think about, you go to school for business. Are the people who are teaching you successful businessmen?
Probably not.
Probably not. They're educators. They probably never opened a business in their lives.
Right.
So they're teaching you theory.
Right.
Then you get out into the real world and you realize, like, I don't even know where to apply what I've been taught, because none of the stuff that's going on here looks like what I was told.
That's
and it's the same with art.
Almost all education could be said that. Almost like, yeah. In my experience with education, you go, and then you go and you're in the work experience and you're like, this is not what they were teaching.
Yeah. And it's like some things like computer science, like writing code. It's what it is. You know, you learn it in school, and if you taught properly, it's what it is.
Yeah. Usually when you go to like learn something, I remember probably my favorite learning experience in high school was this computer class, but it was called Business Cluster. And I was in the data processing block. So there was like secretarial, accounting, and data processing. And for one whole year, we all had to pick one of those big computer books, right?
Okay.
That is just a big text of, you want to learn everything about program X, right? And I picked up this book that said Lotus 1, 2, 3. I didn't know what that was. Right? Yeah. But I learned it. Mm-hmm. And there was no teaching involved. I just read the book and did the exercises. And now, you know, I that forever cemented the fact that I know how to make spreadsheets go, right?
Yeah.
I didn't need to learn how to make Excel go, right? I already knew. It was just Lotus 1, 2, 3 with way too many buttons.
Yeah. And look, you know, one of the problems that, you know, being a teacher, being an educator, what I found is that, like, you have a couple of dynamics. One is that if you go to school to learn something and you become a teacher based on an education that was given to you that way, you will probably not be a very good teacher, because if you've not used that thing in the real world.
Right.
So it's the real world experience. The experience is what makes us exceptional at a thing. The knowledge is the knowledge, right? There's a core nugget, and then you build a lifetime of experience around you, which is what makes you great.
Right.
And so most people, they go to school, all they have is the knowledge and not the experience. The people who have been out in the world who have got the experience very often are so far removed from the core knowledge that they try to teach their experience. Experience cannot be taught. It can only be earned. And so you wind up with the people who know how it's done and do it every day. They forget what it's like to not know. Totally. They go through it so casually because they're so experienced. And so when they teach,
they don't even know how to do it.
What the core is.
They don't even know how to do it, because they know how to do it, but they can't explain how to do it.
Right.
Right.
And so it's very rare that you find somebody who is that far down the road with the experience, but still remembers what it was like to not understand the basic principles.
Sure.
To know what really matters.
Right. So for you
it's
had to
very
go all
hard
the way back to that. I want to make book covers, right? What was the first thing I learned? Right.
Well, it's funny because I had a career as an illustrator. I almost set like 8 years, and I really didn't know how to paint. it was pure tenacity that got me through the work.
Wow.
300, commissioned pieces. And these were big name projects a lot of the time. And yet I didn't actually understand what I was doing. I was able to paint just through sheer force of will.
Wow.
It wasn't until I started teaching that I really started to be forced to investigate how paintings were built, which kind of says something like, if you're willing to work hard, you can fake it. I certainly did. I opened a school and I was teaching and I didn't know anything about how art was created.
Right.
And I started formulating ideas, but it was really the students that showed me the path.
Wow.
I watched them fail with my bad ideas. And yeah. And I jokingly say, I gaslight my students all the time at the school.
Yeah.
I'll have them do something. And then like a year later, they'll come back and they'll be like, I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I've changed something, but I forgot to tell them. And because they're moving along, they're doing beautiful art. And then I'll say, no, do it this way. And they're like, that's not what you showed me. And I'm like, no, that's how I've always taught it.
Yeah, right.
My students are like, that's not what you taught me. I'm like, I don't know. You must have misinterpreted. Yeah. My students, they say like, I'm like the king of gaslighting around here. And of course, like, I joke around with it, but yeah, it's like, but they've been instrumental in growing me as an educator.
Of course.
I am the educator. And
at least you're able to take your ego out of it. And
I have no ego about it.
Right.
The only reason that I'm the one teaching is because I've been doing it longer.
Right.
Most of a good number of these kids, I wouldn't say most, but a good number of these kids, by the time they're in their mid-30s, if they're serious in their painting, will surpass me in their skills.
But that's what you want.
Because they're young and they have energy, and their trajectory is so much better than mine.
That's great.
And I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I look forward to a time when I have an army of students that came through my program that are better than I am. What a wonderful legacy, to leave behind.
So evolveartist.com. Did I get that right? Evolveartist /vroom. Everybody go there. Check out that 9-minute video. You don't have to be 6 years old. You can be whatever age you happen to be. And if you want,
and you can see some student work there too. There's a couple of images of student work will blow your mind.
I bet.
Our high school kids produce professional level work.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kevin, this has been a blast. Now we know what we've talked about, so we can remember to go back and do that other thing.
Yes, I was thinking that.
Because I would have forgotten.
Yeah, no, it's been on my mind. But thank you again for having me. This has really been wonderful.
All right, you have a good one.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.